Very many of you may have seen the video clip of Verydarkman making rounds on the internet space, which is currently generating a lot of reactions from Nigerians home and abroad, where he maintained that the coalition under ADC will fail come 2027.
Alright, so yesterday I talked about the new coalition ADC, and a lot of people say they don't pay me. APC is sponsoring. Let me tell you the whole truth today, and I'll break it down. ADC will fail in 2027.
He cited a lot of examples. He said, number one, INEC. He also said that this is not the first time a coalition is being formed in Nigeria, that coalitions were formed in 2019 to unseat Buhari, and that at the end of the day, nothing happened. He also maintained that all of these politicians who are coming together, that none of them is new to the game, that they are still the same old politicians recycling, and therefore that nothing meaningful will come out of it. Well, my dear younger brother, Verydarkman, for months I have decided to give you your flowers, allow you to do your content in peace, because over time, when we make some critics, a lot of people think you are the reasons why we are here on the internet space. The answer is no. We have been very active on this space even before your emergence. Therefore, this video is for clarity because there are certain records that we need to keep straight, so that Nigerians who are growing up, even the young adults, will learn and choose the better course of salvation in life. And for that reason, I will not be playing the whole video because many of you may have seen it. First and foremost, there was no coalition in 2019. There was no coalition. Probably you read the headlines of some of these mainstream media publications and you believed that there was a coalition without getting into details. Unfortunately, there was no coalition. First of all, let me say this. Even if Verydarkman, as popular as he may seem in the Nigeria of today with his fan base, and as good as he may also be as believed by his followers, if Verydarkman contests for president in Nigeria today, he may struggle to get up to 5 million votes. That is to say that he will not win. Even if Sowore, as good as he is today, contests for election president today, he will never win, no matter how good and saintly he may seem. The answer is very simple. Nigerians are always looking for a saint who will come out of the bush or out of the forest to come and salvage this country, Nigeria. It doesn't work that way. God has created us and given us the willpower to live our life the way, whichever way it pleases us. God most times does not interfere with the opinion and the wills of mankind, except in special cases where he has interest. That is to say that no matter how good you may be, the system that we are living in is a product of man's opinion, man's choices, and man's decision. That is why somebody go carry gun now, they pursue you. God in heaven will still be there. That person go cock that very color, use and buy you. Nothing will happen. Like I said, except in special cases where God is interested peculiarly. Therefore, even with your goodness, the current political hemisphere we have in Nigeria, nobody, I tell you this, even if a saint rises from the dead, even if blessed Michael Iwenet hands, even if St. Paul, even if St. Fidelis comes out from the grave today, they will not be able to win this election in the flesh. Therefore, that is where human ingenuity, human planning, human hard work, and smartness comes into play. I will expatiate more on this. Now, if we begin to go by the reasons Verydarkman gave in that video, he said coalition was formed and they were unable to remove President Buhari from office. There was no coalition, my dear younger brother, Verydarkman. Yes. First of all, what do you understand or what do you know that coalition means? Coalition is an alliance of combined action, especially a temporary alliance of political parties forming a group, forming a government or a state. There is an example. The party was only able to govern in coalition with 3 or even 4 more other political parties. Now, let's also look at another definition for coalition. Coalition is a union of diverse things into one body, form, or group. Or better still, the growing together of parts. If you begin to check other words that are synonymous with coalition, you will begin to have things like coalescence. Other words that are synonymous includes coalescency, concretion, conglutination, conjugation, jointure, unification and the uniting. And this was exactly what happened in the year 2013 when Action Congress of Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu came together with CPC of Buhari, with some part of AMPP and some part of APGA. They were able to unify into one strong force that was able to compete favorably against Goodluck Jonathan. But the propaganda of then cannot be excluded from the equation. Now, dissecting one of the examples that was cited by Verydarkman in 2019 publication of Daily Post, that Obasanjo's ADC and other 30 political parties are in talk in forming coalition. That was only a discussion. It never happened. If you went further into details in that publication from Daily Post, you will see where the party chairman, or rather the national secretary, maintained that they are in the process of developing a document from which a continental brand of a fresh or new political party will be produced out of ADC like no other. Unfortunately, these were all discussions which never amounted to a unified political structure. Here is the difference. ADC, the coalition in unity that, converged together the last time, they came from different political parties. The interest is to unite under the umbrella of ADC, meaning that if PDP does not collapse their structure entirely, some members of PDP will come forth. Some members of Labour Party will come forth. Some members of other political parties will equally come forth, and a force will be united. To also give you more clarity, in 2019, to make you understand that there was no coalition, PDP fronted their own candidate, that was Atiku. Labour Party fronted their own candidate, and likewise every other political party in Nigeria. But this time, if the coalition, God sparing our life, becomes realistic enough, PDP may not be, fielding any presidential candidate, as well as Labour Party. Even if they end up fielding, it will be of lesser influence because the key players have already departed those political parties, joining forces with the coalition under ADC. So this will go a long way to remind my dear younger brother Verydarkman that his examples and his assertions are totally wrong. And this takes me further to maintain in clarity that very video Verydarkman made saying that ADC will fail, the coalition will fail, it is not anything new. If you have been following Verydarkman, you will understand that some time ago he made a video saying that Peter Obi combined with Atiku and Kwankwaso will fail, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will ooze them out, will beat them hands down come 2027. He made that very comment. So this very video he made this time is not anything new. Is a continuum, is a continuation of his, political stand, or his long-term political stand in the Nigeria political hemisphere, which many considers as anti-Nigeria unity on a journey of unifying this very country with, consequent salvation or salvaging of Nigeria economy. The reason I said that is this. If you're very careful with governance, you will understand that Goodluck Jonathan, who was removed from office, in 2015, Nigeria was not as bad as it is currently. We were dealing with insecurity, which concentrated on one particular region of the country, in the northern part of Nigeria. But unfortunately, in the today of Nigeria, in the Nigeria of today, we have a double portion of the problem. We have both hunger, economic hardship, insecurity, terrorism. All of these things continues. Therefore, you will now better understand why we need salvation in Nigeria. At least, let there be a man of due process who will lay the foundation where at least we will be economically viable and then having security to tackle, or we will deal with insecurity decisively and then face the economy. It does not make sense that Nigerians are suffering both ways today. That has always been my stand. And again, Verydarkman talked about INEC. The way he was sounding, he's sounding more like an alarmist or like an anarchist. I was expecting him to outline solutions, the things we need to do. Unfortunately, many of us on this media space who have been advocating for a better Nigeria, there are so many of them. Mr. Common Sense is one of them. Randy Peters is one of them also, who is currently making waves, focusing his energy on INEC reform, review and amendment of many of the, INEC processes, procedures, and guidelines in order to ensure that the votes of Nigerians home and abroad, is secured come 2027. That is how a solution provider works. That is how an activist who believes in a certain cause of life works. He raises alarm and provides solution and focuses on that solution until it is achieved. Verydarkman is more like, at a time when he sees that, concentration, Nigerians are not concentrating on him, he brings out what many people regard to as tantrums. He decides to bring, make people focus attention on him. So he's sounding more like an anarchist, more like an alarmist, without providing solution. And this has compelled many Nigerians to say that he's working for APC. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to agree to that at the very moment. But if you begin to critically analyze that, it looks as if I stand to be corrected. Therefore, my dear younger brother, Verydarkman, at this material time, I said it in my previous video, that any young Nigerian who is not supporting this coalition, say that person na mumu man. I'm sorry to use that word. The reason for that is clearly stated in my previous video, and I'm saying it again. We need to entrench due process in Nigeria. Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed fuel subsidy. A lot of people call him a brave man and all of that. But it was the singular mistake he made in the process of subsidy removal that plunged Nigeria into the perpetual crisis that we are into by announcing publicly on the day of inauguration. Nigeria being an opportunistic country, everybody skyrocketed the price of their commodities. More so, if Bola Tinubu had done his homework very well, like he claimed he prepared for 30 years, Nigerians would have started seeing the dividends of the savings from removing fuel subsidy. I give you an example. Donald Trump increased tariff over time across many countries, and many countries retaliated by increasing the tariff. Also, I can tell you, just a few days ago, Donald Trump announced that United States of America has made about $803 billion from the tariff they increased within, few months. And what has happened? Americans are also beginning to see the dividends of that. Donald Trump now has mandated that from January effective 2025, all children born in the United States of America will have a government-monitored, opened personal account, which will contain $1,000 for every newborn in the United States of America, which will be allowed to run until that child is of age. That money will be invested, and continuously dividends will be given to that very child until the child is of age. The child can, happily decide to do whatever he or she pleases with that money. That is how to show transparency in economic policies. As the dividend is coming, the people of that very country are seeing the effect, being manifested in their daily lives. But until today in Nigeria, hunger is too much. Therefore, Verydarkman, you are doing a great job in the areas you have been working on, helping people to recover their stolen money and all of that. I think you should focus more in that very area. If you want to dive more into the political happenings in Nigeria, I think you should have a rethink and take a stand that will be to the overall interest of many Nigerians, instead of coming to tell us why we will fail as a people. It does not entirely make sense. If it is a job interview that you went for and you begin to tell your employer, this is why I will fail in this very position, without providing any blueprint on how to navigate through the challenges, through the hurdles, definitely you will be rejected and you will lose the job. If it is in Germany, you will receive a letter that will tell you lied and aged, unfortunately. So at this point, I sincerely hope that many Nigerians who are not aware of what is going on, that by the virtue of this video, will begin to understand that there is no saint, there is no angel coming from anywhere to come and save all of us, but rather that the Messiah shall arise from within among all of us. And that is to say that no matter what may be the antecedent of that politicians you are thinking about, which I have maintained categorically in many of my videos, that P2B remains the most viable of all the political candidates aspiring for presidency come 2027. And with him, I have always maintained, I've given my reasons, that P2B will entrench due process in Nigeria. P2B will entrench rule of law. Squandermania will end in Nigeria because P2B detest wasteful spending, let alone spending public fund in a way that we have seen. Cost of governance will reduce. P2B will stop budget padding in all ramifications. P2B is still viable and strong to react, to the current issues facing Nigeria decisively and with, immediate alacrity as it requires. But unfortunately, we live in a country where there is little or no attention to the needs of Nigeria, especially with respect to insecurity. At this point, I'll allow you guys to be the judge. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section and share this video. Man, another person see him. God bless you.